A lot going on in the world this week, Mark. Maybe we should talk about it.
I guess so.
Well, happy Tuesday or confused Tuesday or concerned Tuesday for everybody out there. We have a lot to talk about in regards to travel, but I guess I told Mark before the show that we really can't ignore a lot of what's going on in the world. And we're not a political show, and there's a lot of great people who cover the news about all of this sort of stuff going on in the world. So we're not going to do all of that. And it's changing so rapidly anyway that anything we said right now pertaining to any of that would be changing. But I thought maybe it would be worth talking about traveling in the this new age that we're in. In fact, what we just did the show about Mexico, right? And it just seems like how much has the world changed since that day?
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like a big story anymore, and people have kind of moved on. The flights started back up there, and people are still going on their trips. And we both had several friends that were in Mexico when it was going down. They're like, "Hey, outside of the main area, it seems like business as usual down here. Nothing too bad." And then this all kicks off, and even like the local news here, there was Michigan State students were going to Dubai for like a class or study abroad or something. I don't know what they're going, but it was like a big class trip, and half the class had already gotten there. The other half got stranded halfway there and weren't able to go, and they didn't know if they would ever be able to get to Dubai or what was happening to kids that were in Dubai, and it's just kind of a mess. And nobody, I mean, I didn't think anything was going to be, if you had a trip to Dubai like 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have thought that there'd be any risk involved there.
Yeah, and I think it shows the wider instability in the world. And I don't mean this on any geopolitical level. I don't care what your politics are. We just made a show a week ago about whether it's safe to go to Mexico because some craziness broke out there, and then now the world is I don't know. It seems much unsafer, and I think that I want to approach this from the perspective of the person out there. We have a lot of people who travel a lot. In fact, a lot of people in the Middle East, right? I mean, it's such a big part of our hobby when you talk about like Qatar, Emirates, and Etihad. These are huge parts of our hobby, going to these places. And these cities like Dubai have become these international playgrounds for not only the rich and famous, but for tourists to go sort of over the top, almost like Las Vegas in certain ways, outsized sort of place. And it did feel safe, and it is a clean, and there's a lot of stuff that's going into that. And we just think, okay, let's go see the tallest building in the world. And then you don't think that, oh, maybe somebody's going to launch a drone at it or something is going to go on there. And to your point, I think specifically talking about travelers, there were a lot of people who were in the air going to these places that got turned around, that got diverted into other places. I saw a story about this group of Russians that were flying to Dubai, and then they got diverted to somewhere in East Asia. And then they wanted to they found a new schedule and they were trying to fly them to Dubai. And they're all like, send us back to Russia. We don't want to go there. And I've seen tons of Americans that are struggling in Dubai, being trapped. I will say that the Emirates has done an amazing job of taking care of the travelers, covering their hotels in many cases, a lot of the fees that they're incurring, and trying to make it as good as possible while they're there. And I think that that's nice, but also for a place that so many people want to go. We talked about Six Flags Qiddiya City, and Saudi Arabia's move to try to open their tourism, and how is this going to affect that? Tourism in the Middle East is going to be affected for a long time, I think. And I think people who travel a lot should recognize that instability has always existed in the world, and travelers have always been susceptible to this stuff. I think in this new age of social media and all the hype and everything, we sort of forget that side of it.
I mean, even go back to like COVID, which wasn't geopolitical. I mean, I guess it wasn't in pieces, but there was people that were out there, and then they're like, "Oh crap, I got to fly home tonight. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get back to my country again." We even used to have articles by Zoe when she was trapped in Tonga for a couple years, and part of that was it was too difficult to maneuver her way back, and life there wasn't so bad. So she's like, I might as well just hang out here. There's no COVID here. But it's just crazy over think of the last 5 years of how much stuff or maybe 6 years, how much stuff has happened to travelers that, the previous, 30 years of our lives, we didn't see much of.
Yeah, I mean, previously you would say, okay, if you're traveling to like a war-torn area, you need to be careful and you need to register with the embassy. And this was sort of that view before everything. But yeah, we wouldn't expect these areas that are, I mean, Dubai is one of the most visited places in the entire world by tourists. So that really kind of opens your eye up to, regional instabilities and stuff like that. And then I think the other sort of thing to point out for travelers is that you shouldn't rely on your government to save you if you are in a place like this. And I think today the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem told American citizens, of which there's tens of thousands in Israel, that they can't help them. There's nothing they can do for them. And so that's not the first time that's ever happened. When things go crazy, your government may not be able to help you, may not be able to help get you out. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It sounds like I'm telling people not to travel. I just think people need to be aware that this stuff can happen. And it seems that this is purely my opinion. The world seems more unstable than it's been in recent past. And therefore, it's probably more likely to happen in different places. But again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I think us being more tested travelers, maybe, or having more availability to do things. So if you're stuck in Dubai, maybe you can get a ride to Oman and fly out of there, and you can book the last minute flight with points and not be spending $5,000-$10,000. Like there's social media posts of people who are willing to pay $500,000 to get out of Dubai, and yet they can't. And who knows if that's true? Probably not true. But but like you can maneuver your way and you can think on your feet quicker, and that's the same as if you get like ear ops in the US or something, like where other people are waiting in that long line. Maybe you go to the lounge and you talk to the lounge agent, or you're on the phone while you're waiting in a line, or you're just checking other airlines for flights with points that you have, and you'll worry about getting refunded later. Like we're able to maneuver these things better because of one, the miles and points that we have, but two, just like our history, our knowledge, our experience. So I think that does give a little bit more, I don't know, comfort in when these things potentially could happen.
Another aspect of this is to sort of look at what will the future of tourism be. I mean, we saw with the Arab Spring in Egypt that it almost just destroyed the entire tourism economy for a very long time in that country. And it took a long time to recover. Prices were really cheap. So maybe people are like, oh, it's going to be cheap to go to Dubai. I don't know if it will be or not. I mean, the country spent a ton of money on luxury infrastructure and things that cost money. But you have to think with these airlines, heavily subsidized by their governments, but also reliant on tons of tourists and tons of connecting traffic, that these big airlines are going to suffer in the short term. I mean, the country's suffering tremendously economically just by having these airlines shut down. Remember, these are key strategies to their whole economic vision. These big, giant national carriers using these hubs in the Middle East, bringing people from all over the world. And this has been disrupted. And this can be, other than oil, this is a big blow to them.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how long this plays out. It could be quick, it could be long. You never know. Like I didn't think Ukraine and Russia would still be going at it, but here we are years later. It just seems kind of crazy, and people kind of forget that that's even a thing because it's out of sight, out of mind a little bit, and all these other new things are popping up. So who knows if this drags on? It's just going to hurt them more, and hopefully they come up with some quick resolution here, and we see it move forward. But yeah, it feels very like COVID-esque. If you have a trip to the Middle East, you're like, when we found out everything in March, I'm like, oh, well, we have that flight in August. That'll be fine, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know about. I mean, it's also how the normies are going to handle it. I've talked about planning my trip for Saudi Arabia later this year. Obviously, I didn't have a flight booked yet, so we'll see how that all goes. I'm hoping to still go, hoping everything settles down. But I have to think Dubai has spent like over 20 years creating this image of this sort of luxury playground in the desert for tourists, and I have to wonder just how many like unseasoned travelers are going to be like, nope, I'll just go down to Florida.
Oh, all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So this, I think, is going to hurt. And to be honest, Dubai, a lot less Americans for tourists there than Europeans, which are much closer. So I think how the Europeans react is going to be far more important for their economies. But not just Dubai. I mean, if you think of Doha has been hit really hard, and Doha is another city that spent tons of money to sort of be the next Dubai or to be like that. Abu Dhabi, even though it's in the Emirates, has spent a ton of money, and it had got hit, and just a ton of things. I mean, you have a Disney park that's supposed to be built in Abu Dhabi. Think about what might happen to that. I mean, just think of the idea of this is like 5 years from now, and Disneyland Abu Dhabi is right there, and then you see this. You got to think that the executives at Disney are thinking that one again.
Yeah, it could be like, Beverly Hills Cop 3. You think that's just like a crazy scene at the end of that movie, but yeah, you never know where these things are going to go.
Maybe I'll just lighten this up and nerd out about Beverly Hills Cop 3. I love that movie. Of course I did, because it had an amusement
Because the
park
guy's from
in it.
Detroit, right?
No, because it had an amusement park in it. It's kind of cool though, going in the rides and all of that sort of stuff. And I mean, yeah, Beverly Hills. I like the original. I think 2 kind of stunk, and
Yeah.
then 3 probably stunk, but I loved it because of the amusement park aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, so real world implications, just understanding what you're getting into. And then the last thing I would talk about, and I think that this may be a little bit more unique for how long I've been traveling and the kind of traveling I've been doing, but I traveled pretty extensively during the first couple years of the Iraq War, where Americans weren't very popular abroad. And that may be something to open our eyes up to. I don't know. I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying that for people who haven't ever done with it, maybe you can't fathom that there could be people that just dislike you and tell you mean things on the street because you're traveling and you're American. But as someone who had to put his kid in a Canadian shirt just to avoid him getting yelled at 7 years old, this is another possibility too. So the world, I think, is changing a lot for travelers. And I think that's sort of what I wanted to point out.
Oh, I've had that happen overseas, and people realize you're American and say things, and you have to do your best to maneuver around that. And what Sean's saying is just say "a" at the end of everything.
No, I mean, I always felt guilty about it because I have no problem telling people I'm American. And
Take off
yeah,
your
just say,
hoser.
well, that's what every American does, right? You just say, hey, because we don't have the Midwest. See, you could probably do the Midwest accent better because you're more, I don't know, somewhat around it. You don't have as much of that like Minnesota accent over in Detroit, but
Yeah.
I think you could pull it off. But yeah, the only thing I can do is A. But the reason we did that, and I want to be clear about this is because we bought him a shirt that had Canada on it because we were getting harassed so often in those years by people, mostly Europeans, who were very anti American and very anti the war going on and stuff like that. And having a 7-year-old kid, you realize like, hey, this isn't cool. Like, why are they coming after a 7-year-old kid? They didn't know what our politics were. We weren't trying to talk about war or trying to talk about anything. We're just out there living our lives, traveling. And yeah, I think there's always been this sort of look at everybody looks at Americans different. I mean, the truth is, we are the loudest people, at least in the Western world that I've seen. I mean, Americans are loud, and I am included in that, and we stick out. And there's nothing wrong with being American, but also just understand that when things are going crazy in the world, sometimes people won't like us.
I also think we are the most approachable people, and I've heard that from several other cultures when we're traveling. Like, oh, you can strike any American you can strike up a conversation with, which is kind of unique. And there's a lot of cultures. I mean, walking around Italy, like everybody's in their little pods. They don't talk to any other pods, and they're just kind of shut off and sheltered a bit. And you see that like they don't just sit at a bar and strike up a conversation. Maybe some like in the UK and stuff definitely happens more often. In certain areas it does, but that's something that you can do at the grocery store in America. And so, and I don't know what is the name of those two British guys, that the influencers that were going through America, like Jake and whatever. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know their names.
Yeah, yeah. Those 2 guys, they were just here doing, like, a trip and spent some time in the Midwest, and they're just they would even bring that up, like, just how approachable everybody is kinda crazy. So, I think you get the good and the bad. Like, some people have, notions or perceptions of Americans that they base off of, and they just lump you in with that when you're abroad. But also other people, when they've actually experienced Americana, I guess you could say, are like, "Hey, this is, something unique, something a little bit different."
Yeah, I think most people are good in the world and most people are kind in the world. And we can always like pick things out from different cultures that we don't like. And we're the target of that sometimes where people pick out things that Americans do. A lot of Europeans don't like the fact that we say, hi, how are you doing? And we don't actually mean, how are you doing? We don't want your life story about how you're doing, right? It's just an understood pleasantry, but they see that as disingenuous. I've had many conversations about this when they just can't accept that it doesn't mean that. It's just a way of taking something a little step further than hello. But yeah, they see a lot of that sometimes, but then that's just misjudgment. And I think that goes back to, why are we traveling? Are we there to accept different cultures and to learn about different cultures, learn how what works for us may not work for them? And like I said, I remember backpacking back in the day and talking to like so many travelers, many Europeans who went to places like Iran and Syria, a lot of places where as Americans we were fearful to go and certainly fearful to bring a child. But all I ever heard was how incredible those cultures were, those people were. These were cultures that were largely, at odds. And I have met Americans. We know Ryan Smith. I know lots of people who have been to every country, including those. And I think that the overwhelming thing that most travelers come is to realize how nice people are, and that humans tend to focus way too much on our differences and why that other person has to be like us when we should just be celebrating that they're not like us. And I talk about this with Japan all the time. Like, I love Japan. It's my favorite country to go visit. And after about a week to 2 weeks, I'm very over Japan. Like, it gets on my nerves, some of the stuff. But it's also what makes that place great. And I appreciate it. And I don't want them to change for me. But I can just, say, okay, that works for them. I love it. It's incredible. And I don't have to like say, why aren't they doing it this way?
Yeah, you just get tired of being a foot taller than everybody else when you're walking around.
That's the fun part. You haven't lived till you've been on a subway train in Asia and you're just looking over everybody's head. I mean, it's funny because I'm 6'2", so I'm not that tall. I mean, I'm definitely over everybody's head, but I've been in some trains, quite a few. I mean, a lot of tall people visit Asia. In China. When I was just there in Shanghai last year, there was this guy on the train. He had to be like 6'9", 6'10". Like, his head was basically hitting the ceiling. And then you really see it. I mean, it's nuts because you're talking about like a foot and a half over every single person.
Yeah, I remember the points guy, like a picture of him in I think it was Japan. I'm not sure, but it just like he's tall too. What is he, like 6'4" or something like that? And just you could see it was from like a block away, and you could just see him standing there. It was kind of funny.
So I don't know where I went with all of this, but just to say, if you're a traveler and you're worried, keep your eyes open and be aware that these sorts of things have always happened in the world. And maybe we got to a point where we just felt that there were certain places where it wasn't going to happen. And maybe we haven't seen this level of instability, or maybe this will all be over by the time people see this, and then we can all celebrate. I mean, I do hope for the best for everybody, for all of our service members, for everybody on the ground. I mean, this is not something that I think is great for anybody involved as far as the tragedy. It's terrible for the tourism industry. It makes people worry about travel, and without getting into any politics, hoping for better days ahead.
Yeah, I hope everybody stays safe, and even the people living there that don't know what their day to day is going to be like. And I'm sure it's stressful. We've been lucky enough to live. We missed any of the major wars where there was all those fears and everything, and we don't really understand what that's like. And I couldn't even imagine it, especially with kids. It's got to be tough.
So travel, turn those miles to memories and show people what you learned from doing it and expand their minds to understand that. The one thing, and I'm going to get in trouble for this, Mark, is Americans think that we're the only people in the world. I mean, like, we're the center of the universe, and we're not. And I wish that we would change that as a society a little bit. And I think that all the travelers I know don't think like that. And I think it's just so valuable to travel, to take your children to travel, to get out of your comfort zone, the thing that you do every day, the places that you go every day, the language that you hear every day, just being in a place where the majority of people are not speaking in a language that you understand, where it's all going on, where the smells are different, the tastes are different, the sounds are different. It's exciting. Sometimes you don't even like it, but it's what a lot, I don't know, it's good. It's good for people. That's all I can say. That's why I like talking to travelers, because they have a more robust understanding of the world. And some would say a very simplistic one, but I love travelers. Travelers are good no matter what they believe. At least they've tried to get a better understanding.
Well, I mean, America is kind of like the teen of the world compared to everybody else. And if you have a teen in your household, you know that that's the way they all are.
I don't know. All those years I traveled, Mark, and got insulted by those Europeans, nobody said anything as mean as that to me. No, I'm just kidding. Well, hopefully we're growing up. Maybe we're starting to mature a little bit into our adulthood. But I don't know. This is just a lot of thoughts going through our heads, and I do think the Mexico thing that I started with kind of opens your eyes to say, hey, like, there's a lot that could go down quickly. And there's I've been to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and that government's been overthrown, and there's warlords ruling the street. I've been to Kathmandu, Nepal, and their whole government has recently been overthrown. So these are places that I could have been at the wrong place at the wrong time. And so, yeah, I'm just reminding myself, like, this is all possible, and it is what you do. And I know that there's people that are watching the show that just like to go to Hawaii, and you know that this hobby delivers that too. Although, I mean, Hyatt, all these devaluations, Mark. It's I don't even know if this hobby is really
Yeah,
going to
you better
deliver
book.
Hawaii much longer.
You better book your favorite pretty soon.
I know I kind of swore off Hawaii for a long time, but now with the prices are just going to be. I mean, the idea. My first trip to Hawaii was 22,000 points a night for the Hyatt Regency there. And yeah, what is it going to be for that same Hyatt Regency? Like 45, I think I forget what category it just moved to, but you're almost talking about like a doubling of points over the course of 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean, we were supposed to. I think I talked about this last week or when we were talking about the Hyatt stuff. But we were supposed to go to Bahamas as a big family, like the people we went to London and Paris with. I was going to do Bahamas because my parents, as we talked, don't walk around the best, so we wanted to do something that was a little bit easier on them. Beach, resort, relaxation. So I was thinking like Baha Mar, do the Hyatt there for a couple nights, maybe go stay at the Comfort Inn for a couple nights where you get access to the Atlantis, which we've never like gone into the pools and stuff. I know you have on your stay there several years ago. That didn't go so well, but like I thought that'd be kind of fun, and we are going to do it not this upcoming November with the following one, but with all this, I started looking for flights, found flights for everybody, and I was like, all right, well, we could do it this year if that works for you guys because it's 35K. When I booked it last time, I think it was like 25, 28, something like that, for when we went in April of last year. And I know it's going to be 45 or 55 if we wait until next year because that will be like the top level within that category. And who knows if that maybe the category gets bumped up again coming in May. So it's just like it's going to be 50% or more. And we got to do it this year or we're not going to do it because I'm not shelling out 55,000 points for that hotel.
Not worth it. It makes me miss the day. I feel so good about my early 2020 stay where I had that mistake rate on the suite or whatever that was. Wasn't it in like
Yeah.
$150 a night or something like
Yeah.
that I paid to go there? I hesitate to go back because remember the Bahamas is so expensive too with airport taxes and then them adding gratuities to everything. And I have heard from several people now had in-depth conversations about Atlantis in the last few years under the new ownership. When I was there in 2020, it was just terrible ownership that had let it go. And I wrote a whole story, and this is famous at this point, but it did get bought, and they spent a lot of money on rehashing it. And I've been told that the property looks great. So that do that for what it may. I mean, I've heard some of the same complaints about service that just about every single person who goes there has, but as far as the pool's looking good, I think that they're back, and most of the rooms there are now renovated. So I mean, if it was free again, like if I got diamond status, I don't know. I could see myself going back to Atlantis, but I
Stay at
just
the Comfort Inn with
Nassau.
me. Comfort Inn Suites.
I mean, it's and for people who don't know, it's right next door. In fact, it's
Yeah.
closer than say some of the towers at Atlantis because Atlantis is actually was like some old hotels that they built a bunch of new stuff onto 20, 30 years ago. And those old hotels are still part of the thing and they're very far away from everything. And the Comfort Suites is actually closer than all of that. And yeah, I mean, it looks like a decent hotel and it's close to like the marina there and all the like shops and restaurants. So you really do get the experience mine and then you get the water. I don't know. I think that that's a great place to stay.
Yeah, and the setup is kind of like old school Hyatt Place rooms where you have a couple beds, and then it looks like there's like a mini living room area with a couch with that little partition wall, and I'm guessing it's a pull-out couch, so you get a little more space for a family of 4 or even a family of 3 if if everybody wants their own bed. So I think that's great. It has a little pool area, swim-up bar, so if you want to get away from the craziness of Atlantis, it looks fairly decent. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but you get access to all that stuff. You have a kind of like a respite. What am I trying to say? I don't know that word, but correct me.
Respite.
Like a retreat. Yeah, yeah. There we go. A retreat. Or we could use retreat away from all the craziness at Atlantis. I think when I looked, it's like 45,000 choice points a night. And the cool thing is, choice changed where you used to have to wait, like you could only book 3 months out or whatever the time frame was, and now they let you book out for most of the calendar, at least a lot of the places. So you can book far in advance, 45,000 points a night, and there's tons of, or not tons, but there's a couple options that transfer 2 to 1, so you get 2 choice points. So it's only, you're talking 22.5K City Thank You, or Wells Fargo, I think is the other one that does double. So it's really pretty affordable when you compare it, especially when you compare it to Hyatt.
The problem is you got to go to Nassau. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And none of that makes me want to go to Nassau. I don't know. Is there anybody who goes to Nassau a lot and just loves it? I maybe if
I
you go
love
to
it.
like you do, yeah, you do. I guess.
I mean, the
Yeah,
sad
just
thing is, our favorite restaurant, we've been going there for, Because we went for our anniversary, or not our anniversary, our honeymoon. We went and we ended up at Goldie's, and we've talked to the owner over 20 some years now. And I talked about this on the show, but we met up with him again last time when he was at his place and had a couple drinks with him. And just like, man, we've been coming here forever. And they just had a big fire there a couple months ago and it burned down. So I'm sad to see that. And hopefully they get it rebuilt and up and going, but who knows how long that will take. And that was one of like our mainstays that we go every trip we would have to go there for a meal. And that does make me sad. Like I wanted to wait until it was open again to go back, but who knows? Maybe we'll be open by then.
Mark is the only one who likes the Bahamas better than Hawaii. I don't get it.
The
Especially not
water
the
is
Bahamas.
better. Come on, the water's better.
The water's better, but there's other parts of the Bahamas. Like I was in Bimini off of a cruise ship. I really liked Bimini. And I've been to other places in the Bahamas, the private
Okay.
islands of some of the
Let's
cruise
say
ships, but Nassau.
let's say the Bahamas was a like 2.5 hour flight for you, or Hawaii 9 hours. Then would you start to see the conversation?
I go down to Florida. I'm sorry. I would just go down to, because I mean, a family of four, just think about it. You're paying $500 in
Yeah.
airport
The
taxes
taxes
just to go down
suck.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
They do.
everywhere you go, they're adding these crazy tips. And I don't mean that you shouldn't tip things, but it's very specific there that anytime you get anything, they add the service charge and on things that you don't often tip for. And I don't know, just adds up. And yeah, just not my favorite place. The water parks are cool. And I will say this, I said this before when Atlantis was falling apart. That water park, those pools, that really is unlike anywhere else I've been. It's very unique, absolutely worth doing if you're there. And obviously the Baja Mar water park looks decent and okay, but like the one in Atlantis is very special. The rapids there, it is a cool place. It absolutely is a cool place. So, and Margaritaville over
Plus,
at
oh
is
yeah,
good too. Margaritaville.
yeah. The price wasn't that bad. I actually looked at Built. I should have said this. The price for Margaritaville wasn't terrible because we have the $200 Palladium credit plus the $100 Bill cash. We could do it, and like 2 nights at the Comfort Inn was, I think, like $575. So if you wipe off that $300, it's only like $250, $275, somewhere in that range for 2 nights, which isn't bad. And Margaritaville, I think, was in like the 3 something range per night. So it's doable if you have some credits to work with, and that looks like a really nice property. But I mean, Bahamas has Khalik and Sands. That's the selling point, Shawn.
I was talking about the restaurant, not the hotel.
Oh,
The nacho, that's actually my tradition. The couple times I've stayed at Atlantis, I've eaten at the Margarita
Senior
because
Frogs.
food. Yeah,
Yeah.
food is so expensive there, and that's actually a consideration. The deli is decent over in the mall there, but if you're looking to like go to restaurants there, I mean, you're going to spend a ton of money on top of everything else. It's like maybe Vegas prices on steroids, or at least Vegas prices plus.
Just go to the shacks on the ocean, and it's not that bad.
Or Margaritaville nachos, my favorite thing. It's all good. The deli, like I said, is actually probably a good deal. They have a pizza place there that's a good deal. But when you're with we were there with our daughter. She's young. I'm not going to a nice restaurant and spending hundreds of dollars. So yeah, let us
That's
know
what I'm
your
worried.
Atlantis experiences.
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about in Bermuda. Is just the cost of food is going to be so bad. I don't know how we're going to handle that.
But the water is better than the Bahamas. The water is incredible. Pink sand.
Okay, all right, we'll see.
Of them.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
well, you're gonna hate it.
You know,
If
I'm going to
like
poop on
you're-
it just because you said it's great.
I mean, it's in the middle of the ocean, the Bermuda Triangle. For me, it was one of those places when you finally get there, you're like, it's cool that I'm in Bermuda. All I've ever done is heard of
Yeah.
this place, heard about the ships crashing and all that, and here I am.
No, and it's wild that it just doesn't seem to get, at least in our circles in the travel community, I don't ever see really anybody post that they're going there. And we know tons of people that live on the East Coast. It's such a quick flight. I'm kind of surprised that there's not more people that go there. So I'm excited to see what it's all about.
And this is the answer to your question about the 9-hour flight to Hawaii or a couple hours down to the Bahamas. The answer is go to Bermuda. I know it's a little further, but not too much.
No, I mean, you still have a connect. There's no nonstops, I don't believe, from Detroit anyway. So you're still flying to Miami or whatever. Same as flying to New York. I think it's only probably like an hour longer overall flight time, if that. So it's not bad. We'll have to see. Now, there's no real good points hotels there. So that's I mean, unless you have Marriott points, but otherwise you're with all Accor. And if Built keeps having transfer bonuses, maybe we'll go back. But it's just so expensive to get the room. So I think that's why people go to the Caribbean. That and all inclusives are another big reason.
So we had a whole show of other stuff to talk about today that we threw aside because I wanted to talk about Iran. Somehow we got into Atlantis in the Bahamas. And we did a really long show without covering a lot of it, but we have our Miles and Point show on Thursday where we'll cover a lot of other stories, like all the transfer bonuses going on right now, other deals you can get. But I'd love to hear from everybody in the comments about your thoughts on the wider world, traveling. Are you changing your plans? How, do you think of all of this? We don't need to have the wider geopolitical discussion on who should be doing what and all of that. We can leave that to other mediums, but let's talk about travel in this world because I think it's affecting a lot of us. And then we didn't plan on it, but yeah, let's talk about Nassau. Are you on team Nassau like Mark? Or are you on team Hawaii like Shawn, or just anti-Nassau like Shawn? Let me know down in the comments. We do have the Miles and Point show on Thursday. We will be back in a couple days with that. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.